lands, it's just you see that energy, right? The people all just watching, crowded around the computer. It kind of brings you back. It's a bit of nostalgia, right?
It's got to be on a different level for him here, though, in Castillo Almodóvar. I mean, this is a new experience, and it's time to kick the experience of a grand final off. Grand Final Sunday starts now. Game number 1. Chimse looking to defend his title, and the challenger has entered the arena. Xuan Thu.
Yeah, indeed, and we have an exciting gameplay here. So Chimse with the Romans in the blue on the left side of the map, he's going to be featuring those cheaper buildings. That is the houses, the granary, everything cheaper, right? It lets you build up your base much more comfortably. You can have fewer vills on wood and still get a very fast uptime. Meanwhile, Persians are probably one of the best rush civs in the game. They feature a very high hunt bonus, very similar to Mongols in AoE 2, so they're going to be hunting those deer very quickly, and hunt is the main resource in the early game.
Remember, we got the shove in, coming in a little bit, get a little bit close to the base, set it up for later. And, you know, the interesting thing as well is, I don't know if anyone in the crowd is having this, I'm just getting flashbacks to all the cheat codes that I use. We're not going to let them use it in this one, but there's such an air of nostalgia when you hop into a game like this after so long.
Yeah, right. And here you see, like, without a scouting unit, you have to dedicate villagers to just accomplishing anything, right? And here you see Chimse, he's going to be pushing in with a villager, and so pushing in all these gazelle onto the TC is going to be a very critical, like, part of this early game economy, and it's oftentimes one of the features of, like, skill and player expression in the Stone Age.
I guess the other thing is you don't really, I want to say you don't feel as safe in Age of Empires 1 as you would in 2, 4, 3. In the early game, you know, in those games we're used to the town center providing us a recluse, so somewhere to hide. You don't really get that level of protection here in Age of Empires 1.
Yeah, I mean, one of the biggest reasons for that is you can't wall until you research a tech in the Tool Age, right? So quite some time before you can even start planning your defenses. The town center in Return of Rome, you can actually garrison in it, which is a very substantial difference, but it doesn't give arrows, right? Yeah. So it's just momentary safety.
It's a please don't hurt me.
Yeah, it's a please don't hurt me moment. And you can see the boar lure as well coming in.
Looking meaty and ready to be taken down. Now, what is the expectation here? Because you mentioned that Persians are usually the aggressors. Is that what we're expecting to come out from both a player perspective and a civ matchup? Or is there a world in which Chimse is the one sending it first? Yeah,
one of the biggest things about AoE 1 gameplay is how quickly you can age up. It is absolutely a race to the Tool Age in this setting, so we're going to have to see if Xuan Thu can execute on this Stone Age and, you know, get there in time.
So talk to me about a few of the perks that Romans get, right? What would be the thought process on such an open map for Chimse? Like, a Roman scene is more of kind of maybe a greedy civ, more of a mid-game civ?
Yeah, if he can get to it, right, late game is spectacular. Fantastic siege, fantastic infantry lines, right? But, you know, it's kind of tricky to get there. The main thing carrying Romans in this format is going to be the cheaper buildings. It really, really goes a long way because wood doesn't really support that much unit production outside of, you know, adding more buildings to the game, right? Adding more farms, right? Having that cheaper wood on all your buildings, just, it goes so far.
And talk to us about these ruins they're just running by, because I like to refresh for a lot of people. It's been a long time. Obviously, I remember that straight away from my childhood, but I think a lot of people in this moment like, what do we do these? Why do we want these?
Yeah, the ruins. So if you capture all of them, you start a countdown to victory, right? Very similar to Sacred Sites in Age of Empires 4. And usually it doesn't come into play, but it can be a way of using map control in creative ways to, you know, maybe take out a stalling opponent.
I also like the strategic element of them as a scouting tool, right? When someone comes by and captures them, it's like, you know, right? Like, we've seen crafty games in later Age of games where someone leaves a sheep around and it gets taken. It's like, oh, I now know you're there. Thanks for the free information. And you'll need that free information considering we have got that Persian aggression coming in.
Yeah, we're going to be seeing this forward barracks from Xuan Thu. We'll see what other buildings he builds, and we see the defensive barracks there for Chimse. So really going to be trying to angle for that defensive play. Oftentimes, you'll see both players building forward bases to attack each other's economy. In this case, Chimse seems so confident that he's just going to only defend, which can put you at a disadvantage, but also situationally can put you at an advantage if you're able to.
Oh, someone called the Flintstones because we've got the clubmen on the way in here. In the meantime, we have an advancement into the Tool Age. The timing seemed to line up nicely to start dealing with the foragers out in the berries. Both players now moving up. And, you know, at this age, you mentioned the later stage of the games where we're going to see a lot more unique identity. Is there any aggressive element that we should be keeping on here that gives one of these two civs an advantage in this early phase?
well, we're seeing these technologies come in. Full Axeman upgrades are going to be in very soon for Xuan Thu, and he also has the archery range behind it. We see the archery range has gone up for Chim. These are going to be producing bowmen, which are the hard counter to these Axemen, but there's this timing element where you can see Chim forced to pull 2 villagers into this exchange, and those villagers are no longer on the berries. Remember, food, super important. This is the aggression we were talking about. Xuan Thu already taking down some villagers, putting pressure onto Chim. The bowman, is it going to be enough?
I mean, the Axeman's going to get cleared up. He's going to dive in deep with the villager looking for another target here. I love the way he's kind of min-maxes. He knows the villager doesn't want to go home. He wants to find that extra pressure. Double archery range should give an eventual reset here for Chim, but in the time being, the pain is being reached by Xuan.
Yeah, and we'll see what the follow-up is here, because one range against 2 isn't quite a great situation to be in. He is kind of circling around the hunt, but you still see the boars from Chim are going to be enough to produce a decent amount of units.
I mean, it's a balance act to throw the axes away, try to scale the bows, right? So, like, it's very important that Chim finds a quick way of dealing with this slow scaling number of Persian archers coming in.
Yeah, and the follow-up here could be going into slingers. You can produce them from the barracks, and they hard counter the bowmen, right?
I think if we check his proxy base, like, what has he got down there? Because it only looks like 2 pins. I think he extended close. So it is a single archery range. We've got a second coming in. So this is a very kind of all-in approach, right? Like, if this starts to falter, if this starts to fail at all, this game is going to unravel quickly for Xuan.
But really importantly, Chim is not applying any counter pressure here, really playing into that defensive mindset. Not something you see in a lot of games.
And also the shift of the villagers there, you're seeing they're kind of moving closer to the forward production. This is a risky play. Obviously, we have God Vision. This is not something that Xuan should be able to see right now, but if he has an inkling, if he sends just a single bowman over there, that could spell disaster for Chim.
Yeah, but Chim has the numbers here, can take out that Axeman rather quickly, and these bowmen might be overextending a bit.
So he's just trying to poke on the side. The split of the archery range did make it a little bit difficult for Chim to keep all of his troops protected. Next wave is coming in, and it is going to be the slingers. So reveals it on the villager. Unfortunately, lose one of those, but at least now you're not doubling down on archers immediately, and now Chim can look for his own transition.
Yeah, and we see Xuan Thu already with a 4-villager lead. You can see that he has stopped producing vills at home, so this is basically an all-in at this stage until he can really stabilize the economy. He just wants to keep applying pressure here.
Does this feel atypical in this situation? Because we've seen, like, a lot of RTSs, people get this type of advantage, and they fall back and greed more, don't they, right? Like, more in Age of Empires 1, this is more consistent, this is more likely to happen than go for that greed?
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing a good example of how AoE 1 can be really unique, right? So incoming for Xuan Thu is the wood upgrade, which also gives the bowman 1 more range, right? So it's both an economic advantage and a military one. And in these bowman fights, it's going to be very critical.
It's awkward as well, especially when you consider Chim positioning in this, right? Like, with the villagers kind of being on the front line towards the end of that archery range push. But now he's going to look to push back here. He notices the forces are a little bit split because it looks like Xuan looked for the villagers on the east side. At this point, alarm bells have to be going off though, right? That economy has to be somewhere. He's checked the north side. He knows it's not on the east. So the only thing left is going to be over here. The west side, the wraparound spots it. And that's an absolute disaster for Chim.
Yeah, he's going to have to respond to this. He's going to need to send his bowman through the ranges of Xuan Thu. Meanwhile, villagers could go down. So far, 1 bowman. There was... Oh, no.
He got 2 more. That's 2 more already. Look at this.
Yeah.
6 villager lead. The rest are fleeing to the north side. But the issue with this is your archers are now not able to protect. You just continue to chase.
Yeah, and there's a couple slingers in the mix for Xuan Thu, and that could be a problem.
Second wave.
One is called GG.
GG coming out already, Xuan. We talked about this aggression. We talked about the potential, and he's already showing it up in the face of the chat.
Yeah, no, exactly. And this is what Persians are going to do. It's going to be aggressive. It's going to be a fast hit. But does he have another Persians in the arsenal? I'm not quite sure. We'll have to see how that pans out. I wonder if Chim is sitting here regretting not applying any pressure himself, building that barracks at home. You can play this way, but it can be risky to just let your opponent have all of their resources for free.
It's interesting because, you know, I work in a few RTSs, I talk with a lot of the top pros, and their feeling is, you know, in the early days of an RTS, aggression is favored. As you develop, as you mature, being the defender is an advantage. Chim has shown over the years being the defender is the advantage, but, you know, the difference is really in Age of Empires 1 itself.
Oh yeah, and look at that, Xuan Thu getting some love from the crowd here. Love to see it. And he gave everyone a really nice smile there. Did you see that? Aw.
I love it.
Oh, look at the stretch back too, just leaning back, comfortable, relaxed, laughing.
That is, there's something about getting the first game when you're new to these type of stages. It's invigorating. You have to not let it go to your head. You can't be cocky about it. But it's, you know, like the first dance, right? Like you never danced before, you get up on the stage and someone cheers you like, I'm feeling good. I'm ready to go. Let's disco for the next 3 hours.
Yeah, he's feeling good there. That's got to be nice to get a win off of Chim, right? On the big stage, especially after, you know, so many people are just going to look at it and say, it's a wash, it's a 3-0, right? Just because of Chim's legacy, but I think it's awesome to see Xuan Thu here just coming through and powering a quick win in, right? That was aggressive and fast, and, you know, Chim kind of fell apart a little bit there.
Truly an invigorating situation, but you know what? It's time to reinvigorate our brains. We're going to go check in with Riley, who's lingering around the castle grounds.
Yes, indeed. Here we are out in the area we've called the Oasis, a tranquil haven for people to unwind here. In front of our giant chess set, where Nilly has opened pretty interestingly there. I don't know.
I saw some interesting openers.
Very interesting openers
very interesting
there.
approaches.
But we also saw a very interesting match unfold there between our two Age of Empires 1 players. A bit of an upset there. We were thinking that Sincere was going to dominate, but he's down 0-1.
Yeah, but I mean, you know, his opponent even announced it in a big video prior to that. He wanted to go in aggressive, and that's exactly what he did. Very dominant showing, so I'm very interested to see how Chim is going to bring this one back.
Yes, we've got at least a couple more games to show you, and we'll get to them before very much longer. But let's bring our boys in here to have a chat about what's coming up a little bit later on. Sorry to interrupt the masterful chess that's going on there, Geordie.
Fine.
We've got Jordan, we've got Nilly joining us for the... Oh, he's just given up.
Give it up, just
The
like that.
The Bon Cloud
You
very
win
rarely
some,
gets you there. Sorry, Nilly. Welcome along, boys. It's good to have both of you here on the broadcast for the first time today, and I imagine the two of you, as seasoned Age of Empires 2 veterans, are looking forward to the main event today. Geordie, we'll start with you. Your former teammate Viper going up against Hera. It's going to be a battle of the ages.
Absolutely. I mean, both of them have faced each other a couple of times already, and every time it has been very, very close, except, if I'm not mistaken, one time. But let's forget about that one. Today is going to be different. It's going to be very, very close, and I'm hoping for a 9-game banger there.
I mean, the Viper certainly had the tougher route yesterday. Like, his match went the distance, ended very late as well. And he said in his video blog afterwards, like, he has to go back to the drawing board and cook something up. Do you think he's going to go for something very out of the ordinary here, or is a standard play maybe more successful against Hera?
It just feels like if both are doing the same strategy, it will be really tricky for the Viper. Yeah, we consider him to be a top 3 player, but right now with Hera's dominance, we think he's one level above. He has to win through the draft, through strategies, throughout Might Gaming, or maybe hoping that Hera, with all the pressure of never winning a Red Bull before, might get some trouble split up that way.
This is something that is, I'm sure, it's been playing on many people's minds, and I'm sure Hera's been thinking about it as well. 7 S-tier events in a row. However, this unbridled dominance that Hera has had for so long has never resulted in a Red Bull Wololo championship. Jordan, it is a massive gap in his Age of Empires CV, one that he will be working very hard to fill this weekend.
100%. I was also talking to him about especially this topic today, and asked him if it has extra pressure in terms of his mental stability, but he was like, no. I'm very motivated, even more now.
I'm not surprised. Hera does really seem to have good mental a lot of the time. He seems to have run a very tight ship psychologically. A bit of a born entertainer, I think. He likes being in front of the crowds. So I don't think that's going to affect his performance too much.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Hera has been in this kind of situations a couple of times already, and he has shown that he is the kind of guy who's really excelling in those situations. So I would be surprised if you're seeing something else today.
No, neither would I. I'm definitely excited for that best of 9 series. And I mean, you gotta have tenacity. Best of 9, and that's gonna take some time. Who do you think is more likely to just, you know, stay calm and be able to ride that calm wave through the finals?
One of the biggest weaknesses of the Viper in the past was, even when he was the very best, to always perform his very best and put himself in the best spot. Sometimes a bit sick, headspace not really there. That's super important, because we know Hera is laser focused, he wants to win, and he knows how to grind it out. Like, he might play 10 practice games before he jumps into a best of 9.
Well, we'll find out. We'll be chatting a little bit more about our Age of Empires 2 final coming up later on today. But right now, we're going to jump back into the action. Age of Empires 1 on the docket here. The current score, 1-0. Let's see how the rest of the match pans out.
Nearly, come on, we've been over this 100 times already. How are we feeling out there in the crowd? Are we ready for a game number 2? I think they deserve a game 2 for that.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Oh man, and what a setting this now brings in, right? Like what a feeling this is now, because I think, as you said, going into this, Chim say, you thought you'd just be running out of the gate, running away with it. This has to be a full reset, like on both sides. For Chim say, what went wrong? And then when you think of Xuan, what went right? Where am I right now, and how did it come to this? But you have to calm those nerves, and you have to prep yourself, because I think we're already in to game number 2.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be interesting here. Ooh, players, you can see them, they just look so focused, right? Oh, here we go.
Here we go. Carthaginians in the hands of the reigning champion in the blue. And on the other side,
the Phoenicians, yeah? So let's talk about the civs first, right? So CSDN, he's got Karth. Karth, now they start with a little bit of each resource, a little bit of extra of each resource. This gives them a lot of flexibility in that opening build order, and it just makes the whole Stone Age much more comfortable. Meanwhile, Phoenicians, another economy civ here, going to be chopping wood much faster, and this gives them a lot of tempo into the game, kind of similar to Romans. So again, this isn't a matchup where it's as one-sided in terms of the rush potential of one of the civs. So we'll have to see if Xuan Thu is able to repeat that success in that initial game's rush.
So, you know, the difference in the last game is we had a clear and blatant aggressor. You feel like this one might be a bit chill. We might just see them eventually setting up the proxy bases, but sitting home at first, maybe?
I'm not exactly sure about that. I think Xuan Thu is still going to want to do a forward base. That's probably going to be the case in most of these games. I'd be surprised. I mean, it's possible with the rush distance here being maybe a bit far. Maybe the players would want to defend. There's a way to play just straight up into slingers, which gives you this big mass of this unit. And when you have a hill to defend, the slingers can be really, really hard to break into. And we'll see how it goes.
It looks like Chim says Gazelle push is maybe a little bit cleaner here. It looks like Xuan Thu's maybe struggling to get them in as clumped so far, which might impact things a little bit down the line. I think this is the beautiful thing. When you think of 2, you think of 4, like getting all those deer and you know whatnot in one location feels good. But with Gazelles, because of the degen, on top of that, the fact that the TC won't protect you, having all of your food clumped on one spot actually can be a negative.
Yeah, and you're going to see them pushing in a lot at once. And if you're, you know, an AoE 2 purist, you might be going, ah, no, the decay, like, this is so bad. But you have to keep in mind, you're actually idling a villager in order to push them in. So there's a huge benefit to, you know, pushing them in quickly, right? And that's one of the main benefits of, you know, just pushing everything right away.
Talk to me a little bit about the map, Sahara. Like, what are we kind of expecting here? Because some of these maps tend to lean more aggressive, some more defensive. It feels like this map leaves you barren in your own base, but there's a lot of forward potential to block angles of approach.
Yeah, there's a lot of berries in the middle there, and even some fish, if you find a good storage pit, you can do a little bit here. You'll see a couple little jumping fish in these ponds, and that can give you a quick boost of food. Remember, food is the most important resource in AoE 1, right? Especially in the Tool Age. You just have to find natural sources of food. The farm transition is extremely expensive, and you don't want to do that until your economy is much more stabilized, closer to like 30 vils maybe. And you saw last game, Xuan Thu never went above 19, right? So he wasn't really thinking about getting into that like mid-game section. He was just, I am all in pressure and aggression. And we see Chim say this game, he actually has gone forward with that villager, so he's going to be placing that barracks. He's spotted the house, and we'll see where he places it. It looks like he's going to retreat a little bit down the hill, try and keep it further away so this villager doesn't get spotted.
I don't think he quite saw the ruins there, right? Like, yeah, it would be nice to have it, so then when someone comes by to decap it, you know that they're in the area. But I guess you could also argue, now smuggling behind this, setting up a racks, when you come out as Xuan Thu, you're not going to think anything of it, right? You wouldn't think there's a base there.
This is about to be an extremely aggressive barracks placement. You can see he's just a couple wood away from that placement, and this is going to be, you can see he's just stalking the location. He's like, this is where I will set up camp.
It's like
and there it is, the barracks right in the middle. This is such an aggressive place to be.
He's pitch perfect with it as well, though. I mean, you know, the houses were meant to help with the line of sight. Do you think maybe Xuan Thu could have spread those houses out a little bit more?
You kind of want to build them in walls, right? So what Xuan Thu's done is pretty effective at creating a little barrier, and this can be good for running villagers around. This can be good for, you know, setting up some buildings later, and we see the defensive barracks from Xuan Thu. So you can see this time around, he's opting for that defensive approach. Interestingly enough,
Wait,
oh man, yeah, just he doesn't want him to have that food in case, you know, the rush goes south.
I think it revealed he was there, right? Like, so far, I don't think Xuan Thu has seen him. So maybe a little bit of an early warning, but here we go. The first Axeman is out, working his way across. The Rax is already up, and we've got a follow-up of another house in the area, so plenty of population to work with here. And we'll have to see what kind of pressure can Chim put in. What kind of delay can he force out Xuan on this opening?
Well, it's really interesting here. Axeman coming in the first upgrade. He's got 300 food in the bank, so really anything is an option. You want to get that armor on these Axemen really quickly. It gives you 2 armor, that 1 upgrade, and villagers have 3 attacks. So getting that defensive upgrade means that you can actually be way more offensive against the villagers, right? Otherwise, the villagers can just kind of get us around and quickly take out the clubmen or even Axemen.
You saw what was happening there, actually. Xuan Thu, he's outnumbered here, but he was trying to delay the revelation on the back archery range. Unfortunately, was not able to stop that from happening. So CSDN is fully aware of what is going to be coming next here. The first bowman coming out as he shifts away, and it is going to be a double archery range. Meanwhile, Chim already adding in his own.
Yeah, we're going to have a very similar style here, but this time Chim, the aggressor, and the bowman. You know, it's interesting here because Xuan Thu's actually gotten away with something rather interesting, is he didn't really lose any villagers, right? And he also didn't invest in Axemen here.
He might have jinxed him. It's going to be the first blood drawn by looks like the villager not able to get away.
Down it goes, and yeah, you can see Chim just has bands of units chasing here, and you can see the value of those armor upgrades coming in clutch here. The Axemen going to be able to hold for a long time against these clubmen.
Takes 2 with him. You can't really ask more of the lad as he drops to the floor dead finally. So good pressure now able to be maintained. And also Xuan Thu pulled his troops so far away from his main base that Chim is now able to camp home.
Yeah, one of the big advantages here could be that Chim could invest in villagers at home, but instead he's going to be, once again, just capping off at 19 vills and not building any more. Just all in aggression here. The berries, these villagers are quite exposed, but the bowmen there should be able to help hold this, and we do see the stonewall technology coming in, so Xuan Thu wants to try and be the defender here. The Axemen going to dive under the bowmen. The bowmen have gotten the armor upgrade, and back they go. 1 slinger in the mix.
Beautiful split as well. Love that. Just actually sends the boys in to cause anarchy while he debates the bowman away. So forces a bit more idle time, finds a bit of a desirable trade in the end, as we're going to see some villagers getting killed.
Yeah, and the market going to be critical here. It does allow you to do some resource exchange, although it's quite expensive. But Chim coming back in. The bowman from Xuan Thu walking the wrong way.
He's going to be able to start sniping him down. Drops one of the villagers. The others shift out of range just in time. But that wall is still not safe. It's still not complete. And we have to keep in mind that Xuan Thu doesn't have access to much food elsewhere on the map if he's pushed out of this corner. Yeah,
and you'll see the slingers here are going to be taking a lot of damage from these bowmen. They have bonus damage against the bowmen, and they have a lot of range armor. Very similar to a skirmisher in Age of Empires 2. And we have a full-on fight here.
Chim
retreat.
I mean, it's that one sling that's kind of sticky, right? Like, you look at the raw numbers, Xuan Thu, you think he'd be able to just easily push this away. He's finally got his own slingers coming in with the backstab, so attention is going to be drawn there. But he's just using it to bait, to micro, so he can split off and snipe the slinger on the other side. CSDN still firmly camped in the base, and the worry here is it's so close to Xuan's production that if he retreats from this area, he's unlikely to get more units.
Yeah, CSDN can just go left, and he's going to do that. There's a wall there, several villagers just completely exposed. They're going to have to run.
Shift out the other side. Good thing they didn't complete it after all, but that's now a vacate of the farm area. The backside, he gets that final wall up just in the nick of time, so able to dodge death there, but the second wave is already building.
Yeah, the damage is dealt though. The villagers are idle. This time CSDN with the 4-villager lead. The vills on the berries just sneaking back. Really dancing with the vision there. Even pulling an elephant. This elephant going to give a lot of food and much needed economy to Xuan Thu here.
Back up against the wall. I mean, this is the type of situation where, like, trying to claw your way out of this is incredibly difficult. With so many troops at the disposal of CSDN, he doesn't need to just focus on these big fights. He can continue to idle out that eco, and that has a compounding effect. And he's going to find the eco on the north side, catches them trying to build up the storage pits. He's going to be pinned in the corner, but should be able to take a villager or 2 with him. And the reinforcing wave will mean that CSDN is going nowhere.
Yeah, but Xuan Thu, he's on the run once again with the economy, so 2 big migrations have occurred. And this one doesn't look like it's going to have a happy ending. Oh, boy.
Chasing on both sides. I mean, we reached the chaos point, right? Xuan Thu, it almost feels like there's just nothing to play for here, and that should be it. GG gets called. We even it up. CSDN, the reigning champ, able to take game 2.
Yeah, back on the board. We have a series here, folks.
It's warming up. It's what I want. I mean, you know, if you know how I am. If I could have it my way, every single grand finals would go the maximum distance, and I still have the feeling we're going there. That was dominant on one side in the first game, and we just saw Chim is no slouch. He hasn't been sitting at home eating popcorn, just watching movies all day. He's been hard in the practice.
Yeah, I know. And you know, an interesting note, I love to see it just because it's a big difference, but when these players are calling GG, you'll see them just type one in the chat, and I don't know how long that's been going, but it's quite a while, and I just kind of like the simplicity of it. You know, I do that now too, but I can't do it when I play H2 or Myth or whatever.
Because
right?
it means
like,
yes.
Everyone's just like, what? And then I'm just like, resign. I'm out.
That's the thing, like for a lot of us, when we see one, we're like, oh yes, you mean yes, right? What would that mean in that situation? But yeah, it's kind of a classic. I mean, you know, very tasteful though. He's not typing GGs. Yeah,
right. No, definitely wasn't easy there. Oh, I love these shots at the castle, right?
It's
just
a
so
beautiful
incredible.
place. Oof, so it looks like the Chim fans have woken up. 67% believe in him. Twos, if you believe it's Piggy Boys time. If you Xuan Thu can take this one. I mean, so far, based on what we've seen, I wouldn't be surprised we end up with a 50-50 vote. There's going to be that bias to the champion, but you know, I'm biting at the bit to see what our third game's going to be. Like looking at the maps we've got left here, we've got River Crossing, Desert Ridge, Gold Mountain. Yep. I'm wondering, with what we saw in game one, was there anything indicative of the style that Xuan Thu likes to play?
I mean, he might try to do something aggressive, right? But all these maps are very similar in style. These are all going to be very heavy aggressive maps. Interesting Civ draft as well remaining for him. Palmy can be quite awkward to play in certain situations, but also super potent. Hittites as well on the table.
You know, I like chess, but I'm pretty sure Riley has just been working his butt off, finding all these cool little games that all you guys can do. So let's see what he's found this time for us.
Yes, indeed, back here in the Oasis. This time it's not chess, but archery. We've got our boys at the belt doing the old taking to the range there. So Tristan, obviously a big fan of archery. We all know, so he's getting stuck in there. But Zoe, all tied up, 1-1. Chim on the board. So that's got to be, his confidence would have been very high coming into this match, but he'll be very pleased to have gotten on the scoreboard today.
He will be. And I mean, I know that both of these players are very familiar with each other. As I said already when we introduced this match, they have been practicing with each other for this. So hard to hold back strats. All the maps coming up are on the aggressive style that should suit technically both of these players. So it's going to be remaining interesting to see who's going to come out on top.
Yeah, and this we could, at this stage, we might go the distance and see the full 5 games. I'm going to get these two to come over and join us before they break something here. Tristan, this is not a neutral island, man. We can't build any more archery ranges. I'll get you to come over and stand over here, T90. T90 and Dave for the first time today, everyone, joining us on the broadcast. Good to have you along, boys. And the both of you, of course, will be joining us a little bit later on for the Age of Empires 2 final. We'll come back to that. But Tristan, I want to ask you about Age of Empires 1, a game with a long history. And you've followed Chim dominance in this game for quite a while. This bloke, a little bit like Hera, really, at the moment, pretty unstoppable.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly don't know too much, right? But I think I know more than most people in H2, and he just kind of wins everything. That's basically the way to say it. So the way the series started off was amazing, because you had the 1-0 victory for the big underdog, and now we got the 1-1. So it's every Age of Empires 1 fan's dream.
Yes, yeah, it is funny in a lot of places, you know, you're hoping for, you know, they say quick game's a good game. But in Age of Empires, the community, they want that. They want the full set. They want it to go right down to the decider. Yeah, that's right.
I mean, we love a good underdog story, right? How about you? You want the underdog to come out on top, or do you feel like all the way dominance from Chim is what you want to see?
I think that first game was great, right? We saw the dominance there. We saw the upset, the underdog coming out with the first game, and that's a huge, huge advantage in this series for him. And the crowd was getting into it too. And you saw him, he was clapping, he was engaging with the crowd. And Chim said in the interview before that was going to be one of the weaknesses of his. He seems comfortable here.
He does indeed. Well, let's see which player is going to come out on top. This series is all tied up 1-1. Only one will be hoisting the trophy at the end of the day, so back to you guys.
3 more games? People want 3 more games? It's time for game number 3. Let's get into it. CSDN and Xuan Thu evened up 1 apiece, and now we hop into River Crossing. Let's see if we can be your Jin on this wonderful Sunday evening and give you the magical wish of a 5-game grand finals.
Yeah, this is a very interesting Civ matchup even. Sumerians versus Palmy. Now, Palmyrans have a very good like scaling economy, but they can be super awkward to play in the early game because their villagers cost more food but work much faster, and it's a very asymmetric feeling, and for a lot of players it can be very challenging. Now, obviously these are pros. They're going to feel comfortable with Palmyrans. Not too much in that front has really changed from AoE 1 to Return of Rome. Meanwhile, Sumerians, one of their biggest bonuses is that their villagers just have 15 more HP. And that gives them so much flexibility. They can fight with villagers more efficiently. They can be much more durable under these raids. They're much less likely to lose villagers over a wood line from a bowman or like a quick slinger attack, right? It can go quite a long way.
That's really polarizing as well. Like the way you describe those two in this matchup, you know, when we've been seeing this pull of a villager, it feels like that's so expensive for the Palmyrans to do. On top of that, the Sumerians are now just mutually inclined to come towards you. So I've got this feeling that Red is going to be stuck in his base, waiting to hold back the expected assault of Blue.
Yeah, there's a few ways to play it to avoid that situation, but it's quite tricky and a bit all-in. You can stop at 16 villagers with Palmyran and try and age up after that, but there's quite a lot of idle TC. The idea is that you're going to age up really quickly, and you're going to have effectively, you know, closer to 20, right?
And we've got the scout about. I'm wondering, you know, looking at the map, there's some really frustrating hiding spots for a proxy base, right? If you can just wrap around the back, especially I'd actually say on CSDN side, like Chim say, I think at the south side, there's some of those tree lines you could sneak right around the back if you want to, and catch him with a back racks there.
Yeah, potentially. That could be quite interesting, but Xuan Thu currently not really out on the map, as would be indicative of a really aggressive rush, but Chimse as well not moving out just yet onto the map, so we might see both players opting for a more defensive style, and that does match what these civilizations kind of can do in a lot of situations.
You mean we might get to the mid game?
We might get to the mid game.
Bloody hell, wasn't expecting that. I mean, these two have not been waiting around so far in this series. So Elephant is going to, of course, be pulled underneath the town center. Who benefits more from this kind of stalemate if nothing happens? Would it be the Palmyrans?
Yeah, I mean, there's some nuance to that, but there's a really, really potent timing that Palmyrans can get, like really, really far into the mid game, right? But Sumerians have a better late game at the end of the day, right? So it's kind of important to see how this goes. We did see Xuan Thu go for a 16 pop age up, so he had a lot of idle TC time, but you do see that ticking in, 20%. It's on the way.
I think at this point, yeah, we're keeping an eye out for it. He is looking to spring into action here. Xuan Thu now with the proxy racks on the west side. And I don't believe, actually, I think because Chimse's already scouted that area, correct if I'm wrong, he doesn't have anyone out there looking for this type of play.
Yeah, that barracks though. So you can see what he's done. So one of the biggest like weaknesses of the forward attack is you can be blind, and this is what we would call a blind barracks. And he's just built it because he senses that this might be where the opponent is. And if you look at the map, this is the mirrored location. But the way that this river spawned has actually pushed Chimse way to the right of this. And if this rush goes the wrong direction, which it doesn't look like it will do, you know, Xuan Thu going to get maybe some important scouting info. You can see this artifact. It functions very similarly to the ruins that we talked about before. It's kind of like a free little scouting unit that you can use, and if you capture all of them and keep them safe, you can maybe win the game, but that's very rarely the case.
I remember as a kid, I just felt cool having them in my base when I was sim sitting up. Blind and oblivious to what I really needed them for, but it will be useful for kind of scouting things out extra, especially as you said, when you're going blind like this, every little piece of extra information is going to count. So Xuan Thu already checking around the backside, but with the elephant already being pulled in, he needs to target here. He can't look for any sort of backline economy because it's simply not there. CSDN so far is pulling everything to the forward side.
Yeah, and you can see the potency here. Well, not the potency, but like the risk here in going for these aggressive strategies. Sometimes you're just late, and he went for a 16 pop all-in here, and so he's not even adding vills now, and so his economy could fall behind. We do see the archery range, I'm sure, coming up right there, but the Axeman going to get right on top of this range before it goes up.
Rax is there, though, so we'll have counter troops to push this away, and that should give him the breathing room to get this archery range online. Now, the problematic detail is, like, where's the villager right now for Xuan Thu? Has he got an archery range on the fort coming up himself? I feel like actually setting up back here would be beneficial. It gives you a split production, but it gets them into action much quicker.
Yeah, it looks like he has a bit an archery range at home, and he has another archery range.
Really?
Well, he's got two bowmen on the field, yeah. So he's got one defending against a potential rush, and he's built another one in the south of Chimse's base here. This could be quite interesting. Villagers are on the move here, but the Axemen looking like they're getting too much value just yet. Both players going to be stopping at 16 and 19 villagers respectively, but keep in mind, those Palmyran villagers are significantly better.
Oh yes, and this Palmarian village has got his work cut out for him. He's going to need more production on the backside. And it's kind of awkward from this position, right? Because I believe there is a walk around on the backside of that south tree line, but now we can wall up, and it's such a small space that I love the way that CSDN understands this is a safe zone, but he's not rushing to wall it in because that's a waste of resources.
Yeah, he's done just these small little walls here, which are going to be effective for now, but once you get that bowman mass to a more critical number, there's really not much you can do against, 8 bowmen shooting into there. But we'll see how this goes. Some axemen moving across the map. Xuan Thu going to be tracking that, making sure it doesn't get too close to his own economy. He does have defensive bowmen as well in production.
He might need to vacate the area. There could be a potential walk-in here because it doesn't look like CSDN is set up on both ends of that wood line to protect it. But it looks like he's just going to brute force it. So at this point, it feels like Xuan Thu is not really throwing everything behind one attack. It feels like he can't. He needs to take these multifaceted assaults.
Yeah, and now we see Xuan Thu moving out to the middle of the map with a large majority of his economy. There's going to be both shorefish and deer on that storage pit, which is going to be a lot of food income, and that's incredibly important on this map.
The good news is right now, CSDN, because he has taken this more defensive line, he's not likely to discover it anytime soon. You saw it, Xuan Thu, he reacted accordingly early on. He kept those archers back because he was paranoid about a counter raid, but maybe he should have kept them back a little bit longer. It looks like we've got some troops from Chimse now sneaking to the back of Xuan's base.
Yeah, where's Chimse getting food right now? Is it just south of this? I think it is. There's a berry patch there, right? It's about to run out, so he's going to have to find new food very soon. He's going to have to move out, find a new location. He has found those berries on the side there as well, but some attacks onto the wood line. Again, it's not going to be the most devastating here. The Sumerian health on those vills is going to help quite a bit. Only one vill going down, and the reaction there was honestly quite late from Chimse.
I think this spawn's a bit brutal for Xuan Thu, though, right? Like, when you think about all these tree lines and the food spawning on the back, very easily wallable. So, the more you're trying to lean into archers, which you want to do, the harder it simply becomes to find those free snipes onto eco.
Yeah, and we'll see. Oh, there's an opening on the wood line. There's an axeman now leading. He's going to be blocking for that the bowman.
Nice deletion on the south side to get it out of there ASAP. He's going to have to shuffle back towards the center of the map where he's got more economy, but that might expose more. Meanwhile, there's no counter-offensive opportunity. I love this approach from Chimse. Don't send half the army, just send 1 or 2. Force a reaction, and then overwhelm in your own base.
Yeah, this is absolutely going to be a clear up from his own base. Xuan Thu is going to have to retreat from this and maybe even give up his production buildings in the south here, which could really put him behind. That Wallingville did go down. And this axeman could potentially spot the economy in the center here. This is a lot of the Palmy economy. He's
so
only
close.
got 14 vills. This is half of them.
I think he's going to get sniped, though. He just got distracted, right? Back to this fight over here as his micro away. So that was too close for comfort. Xuan Thu able to dodge the revelation that would have thrusted CSDN out towards that mid-map.
Yeah, if he knew that economy was there, this military would go there. And now Xuan Thu, he really risks grouping up with his military, because if he does, it's going to be right in front of that economy, and he has to maybe distract those units for a really long time, going way to the left of the map.
Pressure coming in on the east side here, and you may notice Chimse doesn't have the whole army. He started to press out in the west, so this dance of death is still going on. To his credit, Xuan Thu is still keeping Chimse in the base, but what we're not really seeing so far is a clear and apparent path to victory.
Yeah, it looks like he's going to be able to clear up, or at least make sure that no units get produced here on the south side. But we do have another raid on the wood line. These villagers are low. The Sumerian health is so important there.
Just about edging and skirting towards death there, but you can see there's always this encouragement to try and dive in, but you do that, you get cut off, there's no retreat the other side, and I don't think Xuan Thu's in a position where he can afford to lose an entire military force to kill 2 or 3 villages.
Oh, Chimse, he's baiting Xuan Thu back, but look at the loop around. There's a group of units coming for the ambush.
Doesn't quite know. CSDN, he's in range here, and Xuan Thu, he can't wait around. He has to run straight past because of the second wave on the way. Big hit from the reigning champ, and this might finally be the point where he comes out of the base.
Yeah, nearly double the army now, and now may be able to put some pressure out on the map. Remember, a lot of that economy is in the center of the map, so if Xuan Thu goes the wrong way with his army right now, he might give it up. We do see that market coming in. That is going to unlock the farms here.
It's also going to protect that backline berry, right? It's creating that natural wall, so that means he doesn't have to hold as many troops at home. The small group that were trying to get in gets scouted out, and this is Chimse for the first time crossing the river like Caesar himself towards Xuan's economy.
Oh, he's walking right towards it. He might have just guessed.
I mean, 50-50, right? Like, it's more likely when he was up here that he's going to be playing around the fish, and he knows that the wood lines are up here, so let's see if he can find the golden goose. Xuan almost looking like he's trying to goad him away from it, but Chimsei will not take the bait. He sees the storage pit, and now he'll look for the dive.
Oh my gosh, so much damage could be done here.
Villagers retreating to the east, but when you've got this many troops, like how do you get out of here clean, right? With good micro, Chimsei can cover every single angle of escape, and that's 8 villagers trapped with nowhere to run.
Yeah, these vills are as good as done here, unless this migration can work, but you can see Chimsei, he's trying to block off the retreat to the south, just being taking very calculated shots here to make sure he doesn't miss and waste too much time on this chase.
I think someone needs to tell those villagers that they are red, not blue. They're heading towards the wrong base here. Second wave intercepts him, and it's going to be a massacre. Xuan Thu, even if he gets these villagers out, it's so much idle economy, while Chimsei has no pressure on his own base.
Yeah, this is looking really good for Chimsei now. 18 vills to 10. Palmy vills are good, but 9 now. The countdown has started.
Tick-tock goes the clock, and it feels like Chimsei is going to find himself on match point. It's looking undeniable. 27 military to 10. Double the economy power. Xuan has one last bullet in the chamber, and it needs to be a headshot.
Yeah, and these Axemen are going to be so good against the Slingers. They don't deal very much damage to these Axemen, and they can just kind of run in, and the Axemen absolutely slap them across the face if they do get in range.
I mean, even this little proxy group trying to hit the backside are going to get scouted and chased. They're outnumbered. It feels like he's outnumbered everywhere, and I'm struggling to see the way. I look for the positive where I can, but the bars tell the entire story. Xuan Thu, at this point, is essentially processing what feels like a blatant loss.
Yeah, he's going to see these farms with that Slinger and
GG.
call it here. Yeah, GG gets called. Chimsei is going to get it.
What a setting this would be, right? We know we can't have a repeat champion in Age of Empires 2, but we already had one in 4, and we could be about to see one in 1 as well. Nothing but perfection now from Xuan Thu if he wants to lift that trophy, which of course for either player will be a momentous occasion, but when you consider this is his first time in an audience like this, if he can come out from behind now to turn this around, that's a true Cinderella story.
Yeah, you could see Chimsei's face there. He just seems so like confident and calm. And I think that's kind of the champion's perspective, right? He's been in this situation so many times. He's played so many best of 5s in his career, just so many, countless best of 5s. So he just looks so comfortable and calm here.
Well, this series is getting pretty sweaty, so I think it's time for us to go relax across in the Oasis.
Yes, back in the Oasis, I've found a familiar face to have a quick chat with here. It's local hero and fan favourite Tatso. Welcome along, Tatso.
Thank you so much.
Good to have you along. Also good to have, of course, a contingent of monks here, giving us the really the reason the tournament is called what it is, an iconic unit here. And
Exactly.
we'll see if they manage to convert us by the end of this interview. But Tatso, I want to talk to you. Obviously not the result you were hoping for personally this weekend as the defending champion, but I imagine you'll be very happy to see your teammate Viper in the finals.
Yeah, of course. Like Hera and Viper are both my teammates, and we secure a GL finals, so we will have a GL winner, and I'm really happy for that.
Yes, and of course Hera, a recent addition to the team as well. I know you and Viper have been teammates for a long time, but with Hera joining the team, no matter what, GL takes it out. Do you have a favourite one way or the other? I guess you're happy either way, but Hera lacking a Red Bull Wololo title for him, what would it mean for all of you to have one like this?
Yeah, for sure. Like Hera has been dominating the last 2 years, and this is the only tournament that he hasn't won yet. So he's probably really motivated, and also he has probably more pressure than Viper. And I would love any one of them to win, but probably for the scene, it will be better if Viper wins.
Okay, well, we'll see how it goes. But I want to ask how you're feeling about just the castle generally, and especially in your home country of Spain. We've been showing off this part of the country in pretty spectacular style. How has it been for you as a local boy here this weekend?
I'm speechless. Like when I was walking to the States, I had chills. I didn't know what to do. Too many people cheering. I think the crowd is doing an amazing job as well, and they are enjoying the tournament.
Yeah, people chanting your name. It really was such a heroic moment for you here as well. And we've got our Oasis here where people are chilling out. Have you had a go on the archery? Have you played a bit of chess?
Yeah, we can do it.
How did you go? Have you played chess?
Oh yeah, we played against T90.
And how did that go? I imagine pretty
T90
well.
doesn't know how to
Yeah, I
play,
was
so
gonna say.
I choose the right opponent.
You're smurfing, man.
Yeah.
You're smurfing, yeah. All right, well, Tato, it's been fantastic to talk to you. We're just going to wait to see if the casters are ready for the Age of Empires 1 final. Have you been watching what's been going on? I know you've been busy out here, lots of fans also as well, but did you see much of what was going on in the Age of Empires 1 game?
I was catching here and there because I have played Age of Empires 1, and they are insane players, and it's really fun. It's really fun.
Did you play Age of Empires 1 as well when you were younger?
I didn't play that much, but when Return of Rome was released, I played a little bit, and I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, well, I'm enjoying watching this game as well. So we're going to get back to it, my friends. The casters are standing by up in our casting area. So thanks so much, Tato, for joining us. And it's back up to KP and Winston Waffles.
You've told everyone where Tato is. They're going to be lining up for signatures, photos, the whole kit and caboodle. Big shout out to one of the hearts of Age of Empires 2. I mean, they have so many hearts that I think they're a Time Lord at this stage. I mean, you think about all the names, the iconic names they've built up over the years. And I'm thinking of Age of Empires 1, especially with the Vietnamese crowd, how magical it must feel to be part of this legacy from Red Bull.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of pride, right, in kind of like their culture and their community that they have. They love sharing that with the world. That's happened on every big international tournament. It's a huge sense, and I got to be honest, Tato's being a little bit like a bit humble there, as maybe humble as Margugu would say, right? Tato is actually an excellent AoE 1 player. In AoE 1 DE, he actually won a tournament. I think people don't know that.
With the Roman?
No, in AoE 1 DE. Yeah.
Oh, DE? Really?
Yeah, no, he
I
won.
didn't know that either. That's
he
incredible.
straight up won a tournament.
I mean, that guy's
that's cool.
A lot of these guys are just magical. They go into any game. Like, I mean, Doubt's another one that comes to mind. Obviously, we didn't get to see him playing on LAN, but I was talking to him behind the scenes, and I reckon if he came back and played AoE4 full time, I could see him easily back in like the top 20. Like he's got that talent. He's crafty in his style, and these guys are as well. And they're crafty with their banners. Talk to me a little bit about this, because we've all got our animals, right? I've got a bird. I've got a pigeon. It's kind of obvious, killer pigeon. But there's some meaning behind the banners for these two players, right?
Yeah, well, Chim Dinong means sparrow in the sun, and you can see that very, very eloquently like demonstrated there on Chimse's banner. It looks really, really nice there. I love the golden glow behind it. It looks really cool.
Now, please tell me Xuan just really liked pigs.
I guess so, maybe.
Well, let's see if the piggy's going to squeal or if he's about to be a wild hog. Game number 4. CSDN, match point, looking to make it back-to-back Wololo championships. Has Xuan got something to say about it?
Yeah, we'll see here. So Macedonians, one of their main advantages is that their units get more line of sight. And as you've seen in these games, line of sight is one of the most important things. You see how much that villager sees? Yeah, it's +2. This is incredibly important for positioning a rush. You saw what Chimse did 2 games ago, right? He had that Vil just kind of scouting out those houses, but if he goes 1 tile too close, the house sees you back. Here, you just have a huge advantage at like, oh, I can see the house, you can see the enemy villagers and just sort of stalk them. We'll see if he's able to put that to use here, but this is also a map where the rush distance is really, really high, so you're going to have to get your barracks in a really good position and hope that it works out.
Do you try to push these Zebra in, or do you just now go out and gather from them? Because obviously, for Xuan, he's got an easy shove in, but I just noticed CSDNs are so close to the edge of the map, it's really awkward to try and get behind them to push them towards the TC.
Yeah, he will do. I mean, it's something that happens quite a lot. You have to push with a Vil every time you play the game, right? Every single Stone Age, right? So it's just default behavior, and you get used to it. You know, it's never comfortable when it's exactly against the wall like that, but I mean, Chim says up row, right?
I think, you know what I think it is? I think the Zebras have started to learn and evolve. They're like, you can't get us back to the town center if we just wait next to the wall.
That's an interesting zebra icon, yeah.
Wait. Is that Tato?
Kind of. like, honestly, a little bit. Like, a little. I kind of see it.
We got him in the grand finals, man.
He's here too. Tato's always in our hearts.
Oh my
God.
God.
His elephant friend. Oh no.
He's everywhere.
Yeah.
So Elephant's pulled in as well. Talk to me a bit about Desert Ridge, because you were saying when we look at the map pool, it kind of feels like a lot of these are going to have maybe a similar playstyle. There isn't these ones that necessarily lean you harder into the mid game or late game, but there are those maps in the wider pool.
Well, it's a very defensive map. You're able to hold like really, really comfortably if you're able to get kind of this full wall off, which is there is a possibility of it. And you kind of look at Chimse's base, and it almost looks doable here. In the middle of the map, you'll notice there's lots of elephants actually kind of dotting that ridge, and the player who can spot those and pull them, you can lure those all the way to your town center if you wanted, and it's just a huge boost to your economy. You can see just how many there are. It should be called Elephant Ridge if you know what I mean there. That's a lot of chunky boys.
Hannibal Ridge, maybe?
Maybe. I mean, it's very suiting for this game.
We have got the move out from Xuan. Looks like he's going to have to circle around the east side. But as you mentioned, it's so defendable for CSDN. It feels like Xuan actually has to get very close with his base positioning. And the beautiful thing here, that scouting vision advantage should mean he's able to dodge the villager as long as it's not right next to the tree line.
Yeah, like one of the most important things is knowing where the pressure is actually coming from. That can give you a huge advantage. And
he's so close.
Just barely going to miss him. Everybody whisper.
Like ships in the night, they don't see each other here. Alligators getting involved with the mischief. But Xuan, he doesn't react.
Forward Vill. This is really important here now. If you spot the enemy's villager forward, you can push it back, and now it's going to be really hard for Xuan Thu to actually build a barracks in this location. And we even have the crocodile involved. He's like, oh, where'd my friends go?
Like, CSDN's villager just runs back and gives him a fist bump. Thanks, bro.
Yeah, thanks for helping me out. Yeah.
And he's already prepped. This is beautiful because he's already prepped houses on the west side just in case it's like this double option gambit that you might occasionally see. It's like a bit of a wild card. It's very expensive, but it can pay off. But now it's just all full focus on the south side on a very defendable location for Chim. So Xuan, with this in mind, do you now go for the all-in still, or do you just fall back for some sort of more macro-focused game?
Oh, wow. And
wait.
Xuan Thu looked away from his Vill for a bit.
He's not reacting at all.
He's busy with something. Maybe he just gave up the Vill, left for dead. But that's crazy. That's just going to give it up to Yamato like that.
He finally reacts towards the end, so Chim shouldn't be able to get this kill. It just feels like unnecessary damage, but it's almost like... Okay, hear me out. I'm going to go like deep in the big brain. What if this was intentional? Because now Chim like, oh, he's clearly going for another proxy base. Why didn't he react? And Xuan's just sitting at home doing nothing.
You see the barracks going up defensively, and both players going to be playing defense here. Now this could actually favor Yam a bit. Yamato, they do get these cheaper scouts, and that's a unit we haven't really seen in this game just yet. But having access to the cavalry can really help you hold map control going into the mid game.
Oh, Alex, please, Crocodile. Just this whole time, it's just one more tap and he's dead. I've got a funny feeling. There it is. Wow. He goes down. So first blood gets drawn, and there's a party between the Crocodile and the remaining villager. But the Crocodile will lose out. So CSDN has found himself right outside of Xuan's base. Any chance we just turn this into a home?
There's potential, but if you notice, we're going to be creating these ranged masses. Now, players have been favoring mixing bowmen with slingers. We've seen that in all these games in very small numbers, but in a game like this, it might become very large numbers very quickly. You can see Xuan Thu forced to make that clubman to get some information, and
he's discovered more crocodiles. God, I hate these guys.
The crocs are fun. That's actually the croc from earlier, I believe. He's our friend.
Oh, true. That's why he let him live. He's like, you keep doing what you do, buddy. So yeah. We're going to have the clubmen start to move across, but the options, the angle of approach is difficult, and because it is going to be scaling archers, it just feels like it's not going to be feasible to sneak one or two of these axemen in to do any real damage to CSDN.
Yeah, and we have a bit more of a macro game coming in here. The markets are early. This gives you access to really potent economy upgrades.
Oh, sweet Princess, not able to work out for him there, and we are now seeing a shift out onto the berries. So we're going to see Chim extend beyond his initial holdings, the most defendable location in the map. You did mention the potential for the scouts to start coming out. Is this something Xuan should anticipate? And if so, what is the appropriate response?
Full wall, which is what he's doing right now, which is really good. He's respecting the options that are available to CSDN in this case. It does look like we're going to have a bit of a mirrored situations where both players are going for slingers to frontline, kind of like skirmishers in AoE2, and bowmen like the archers. So you kind of have that mix of units here. And the scout transition can be really expensive, and it could come at the cost of maybe delaying the bronze, which is the third age. Yeah. Just a bit too much, but we'll see if that comes into play here. I'm not quite sure. A big thing you'll notice differently here is that players are actually training villagers again. So the macroing is an important element of the game, of course, and somehow Chim has given himself a pretty definitive lead in economy.
It sounds so taboo, though, this idea of like stopping to produce villages. I feel like a lot of newer RTSs, you just don't see that for the all-in, right? Like, it's very valuable if you feel like you can be impactful enough with the units. And we've seen just one unit, maybe two, makes a big difference. And well, that is an advantage for Chim on the defensive, as Xuan is just going to run in behind him in a bad and unideal position. He's at least able to somewhat trade, but this is a fight that he was never going to win.
Yeah, there was that hill bonus there that made it really function well for him, and obviously going to be a super important factor in these ranged battles is holding that hill will always give you an advantage. Oh man, this game is really heating up. 30 vills for CSDN now.
I'm wondering, maybe you can kind of bait CSDN towards the central hills here, right? Have the second wave come in, then look for the fight, because I don't think you want a full macro game, but instead Chimse says, oh, thank you for inviting me over. I think I might stay the night. He's shifting in, but I think he has gone for the wrong side. East is where the economy's at.
Yeah, I mean, these two units aren't going to deal like significant damage necessarily. It could add up potentially if Xuan Thu just isn't looking, but I doubt that's just not going to happen. You can see the cleanup coming in. Chimse just sacking the units, trying to get some damage onto that villager. The villager actually getting a little bit low, but going to be fine. And we actually had a counterattack.
Hold up. One villager down. A slow reaction there. CSDN stops it just before it's a second flop him, but no, he gets him on the retreat. Great strike back there.
And he's going to win this fight too.
This could snowball. I mean, he needs it as well, right? CSDN's already up by 4 villagers. You need to apply that pressure. And funnily enough, him splitting his army like this might prove problematic. The second wave is coming in from behind. Reinforcements from the back in the north. Another villager dying as they are essentially frontlining in the situation. He will stop the aggression.
The micro's not there.
But
and another Vill.
He does push him back. Look at that eco situation now. 2 between them. We talked about CSDN feeling like he's very confident, very cozy. But the crazy part is it feels like there's just not enough layering to the base yet, right? And we also have to keep in mind, when you look at the spawns of food and resources, having these woodlines so close seems good until you realize it shoves all the food, gold, anything you need further away.
Yeah, and that's where we're going to see the safety of the farm transition, which we are getting here. We got a game on our hands, everybody. Look at this.
All right, is it too much to ask for Age 4?
Iron Age is probably not going to be the most relevant thing this game, but I could, if this stalls out, I could see us going to bronze pretty shortly. In fact, like Xuan Thu, is he potentially even saving up? You know, 15 on food, already got 400 in the bank. You only need 800.
No, I'm wondering, like, does Xuan Thu have to come out himself anytime soon? Because we've said that CSDN is very cozy with all those farms at home, but is he
pushing right in? There's a hole in the wall there. There's just a gap for his own units to go through, and there's nothing there to defend. Just a few slingers, and we're going to immediately see that hole filled.
Cuts the reinforcements, but check this. Chimse is still going in on the south side. He understands from this position there's no good trade if he has to send everything home. He needs a counter-offensive, and he should be able to find this tree line. The question is, how quick is the reaction of Xuan Thu going to be? Yeah, if Xuan Thu's able to move quickly enough, he does have the wood line on the left to move to. Meanwhile, he looks like he has a few more units here, but there is a hill for CSDN to hold. The fight, will it be there? I mean, he's on the high ground there, right? But at this point, I think maybe you could try to brute force it instead. Xuan Thu hangs around on the low ground and realizes the mistake he's made, so shifts away from this. Meanwhile, pressure is coming into his base as the villagers are getting picked, and he's even split to watch for any reinforcing wave of slingers to cut them down one by one. Yeah, a really interesting note here is that the slingers actually cost stone, so you don't think that it's a resource you really care about in a full land military if you're coming from other games, but that 10 stone cost can really add up in these games, and you can see the pressure onto the stone could cut Xuan Thu off. This was pretty rough for Chimse, right? Like, this bulk force is able to cull the reinforcements one by one. That fight on the other side, yes, Xuan Thu was winning it, but he's not in a position to then go in and do anything beyond it, right? Like, realistically, the production should be able to stabilize. So I feel like Xuan needs to fish for economy, because there's a risk in the next minute that CSDN will creep towards that tree line again. Yeah, Xuan Thu looks like he's really trying to macro up to the Bronze Age. He's got 600 food in the bank. What? That sounds crazy when there's a military right in front of your face. He's remaining calm, right? He's understanding that, like, if this wave gets cleared up, I know his reinforcements can't come because I'm killing them one by one. It's a Congo line of death back at home for CSDN. Yeah, but you saw what he did. He pulled 8 vills to that stone mine just to make sure he had that bank of 160. That means he can queue up 16 slingers with some time, and that should mean that should be enough time to get the defense rolling here. He's up a lot of economy. It looks like for some time here, Xuan Thu has stopped producing vills, but that's because he's about to click up to the Bronze Age. But look at the eco difference here, 39 to 25. There it is. Techs up. But Bronze Age is everything. Access to cavalry could just end this game. Cavalry absolutely shred everything on the field. The one critical missing piece here is Xuan Thu not on his gold right now. We have to really emphasize the efficiency of what Xuan Thu's done here. It looked like CSDN was spending a good time outside the base doing damage, but as you said, it's because he's not reacting. When you look at the military, for a guy who has this eco lead while his opponent rather is going for a tech up, you wouldn't expect the military difference to be this close. Yeah, and he's getting the gold upgrade, moving the vills out. Does he have a stable? No. Is that what he was building up there? No, it's just another barracks. And he's got room to the west side in the back of his base, right? Like there's options and locations here. He's just trying to make sure there's no probing on the backside. So more farms are also getting added in. I mean, that is an area where it feels like Chimse is ahead So he has that more reliable at-home food source. Maybe there's a world at which we do see Xuan Thu just sneak out for the north side berries, and that kind of lights a fire underneath CSDN's butt. He needs to keep the pressure on to keep him in this corner.
Yeah, but 2 Cav are going to clean up this entire army of CSDN.
And his positioning as well worries me because he's so close to the base when this tech is going to come through. So he won't have an easy reaction of just get behind my walls and stay and wait until I'm ready.
He might be able to put pressure under the Goldvilles here. Xuan Thu's going to have to keep producing slingers in this case.
Oh.
But the tech up is almost in.
He's also trickling it. This is not good for Chimse, right? If they'd all been there once, he'd be able to just about win that fight. But instead, Xuan Thu should have enough to stabilize here to push him back. And with age 3 now in, it's problem town central for CSDN.
Yeah, I don't think he was expecting this just yet. He just got domestication. That's horse collar for your farms. He just got that, which is very expensive in this game, as opposed to saving up for that critical Bronze Age. And now he's training more and more units at home, but he's on the gold.
Slice down the center here.
The
First
cavalry's
cavalry
out.
comes out, and this could just wipe it all. Chimse needs to trade for anything he can take with him because he's about to be 6 feet under with the army. So you might as well drag a few slingers down with you.
What a story here. Xuan Thu down almost 20 vills right now, but he is cleaning up this army.
The poke, the probe, these villagers, it doesn't feel like they're dying quick enough, and this is going to have a ripple effect, right? Second cavalry unit out, this snowball is going to begin. CSDN is not in a comfortable position in this game. Yes, he has the military numbers, but the quality is red all the way.
And we just got the best eco upgrade in the game. The wheel just finished, and if we pan back to the base, you see those vills? They are flying now. Wheel is one of the most important upgrades in the game. It gives access to chariot units, and it also makes your vills significantly faster, which means that these slow tool units that Chimse is relying on to apply pressure are not going to be able to chase them around the map anymore. You can see the 2 cavalry going to be a critical force here for Xuan Thu. He's looping around, coming back.
CSDN always come to the same location though, always focusing that. I wonder if Xuan Thu can use that against him to just play wider on the flanks and not have to worry about his economy as much. In the meantime, CSDN is setting up those stables north side, so looking to mirror cavalry to cavalry. If he can weather this storm, if he can stop any eco leaks from cavalry across the map, he could be in control of this game, considering that he's 13 villages up still.
Xuan Thu's going in for the kill. 3 cavalry going to be microing the hurt one to the back. The ranged unit's going to be helping him. The fight up the hill, is it going to be there for Chimse?
One down, second cavalry looking to fall, so a lot lost, but considering this is your biggest threat, getting rid of them might be enough to make CSDN feel comfortable about still existing, but this should now be Xuan Thu's time to shine. Cavalry should be heading across the map, and he should be leaving those slingers to mop up what little is left of the aggro from CSDN.
Yeah, and the Bronze Age is going to come in though, but we have to keep something clear in our minds. Yamato have a really, really solid Bronze Age. They get cheaper cavalry. That applies to the scouts and the cav in this case. So this transition with this stronger economy is going to mean full pump from these stables. A 3rd stable coming in. We are going to see a lot of fast units on the field here. The scout, look at the vision of that. Going to be just trying to find the enemy units, trying to hunt them down. He has some of these upgrades in already. Chimse now waiting on wheel of his own. The tool working there, metalworking is the 2nd upgrade, the 2nd attack upgrade, going up to +4. So Chimse immediately going into aggression here.
You're starting to wonder, Xuan Thu for a moment, we thought, okay, this is it, it's a breakout. It almost felt like CSDN bodying that fight so consistently gave him the breathing room for this type of transition. And we have to remember, you know, the spawn for CSDN was so good in this game that even if you got one or two cav out quickly, there aren't many access points to that blue economy still. So kind of feels like Xuan Thu needs to go a step further. He needs to activate his anime mode and take a big proper fight again before he can do anything significant to the economy of the Yamatas here.
Yeah, and we're seeing even a switch into the academy. The academy trains 1 unit. 1 unit line. It's just the hoplite, right? And that's all it does, but it is so good. It is the king of melee engagements, but it comes at an extreme cost. It's going to be key for CSDN to have a couple of those against Macedonians, because the Macedonian hoplites have a bunch of extra ranged armor, meaning the king of the melee fights is, oh, there's a hole in the wall.
Uh-oh, and that's a speedy boy running away at least. Thank God for the wheels. The Cavs should be able to gap close and find a kill, and yeah, at this point, I don't think Xuan has anything at home. Right? His whole army moved up because he's looking for a counter-offensive, but the walls are already in from CSDN.
It's on the granary. Those 2 cav are getting in as well, I think.
Oh no, it's a
The
follow-up.
quick walls, no!
Not quick enough here, and this is a big deal. Yes, the villagers can run away, but the idle time alone, the few deaths that are racking up, you can't afford it when you're this many eco behind.
Yeah, this is going to be a really painful moment here, and we even see the government center for CSDN has been built. The macro god is on his way to booming on multiple town centers. Meanwhile, the raids coming in on every single corner. The farmers everywhere going down.
And this is getting worrisome. We want that 5 games, but Xuan Thu, he's up against the ropes. I don't expect an early GG, but he might not have much of a say if he can't plug these holes quickly. Just a few cavalry is butchering the economy in the Macedonians. And on the other side of this, Xuan Thu still doesn't have an in. He's not finding a way of applying pressure. Finally, the wall's been broken, but he needs to rack up the kills stat.
I don't think CSDN noticed this at all. He didn't react at all to the villagers.
Few going down.
And here's the counterattack.
More shifting across. And wait, is he building TCs in the back?
Yeah, that is multiple town centers. In this game, TCs are 200 wood only. So players spam them like no tomorrow. But there's units here going to be denying this massive investment. The cavalry with the slingers going to be enough to shred these villas apart. Meanwhile, the gold
is everywhere right now. CSDN, he's just going to continue the aggression. Sure, I'm going to lose some eco, but not as much as you. It's a race to 0 in this type of game. The TC has to be cancelled out as he shifts away. It's pure anarchy in the back, and CSDN somehow having enough military to both defend and attack, and Xuan Thu looks all but dead in this game.
Yeah, you can just see the cavalry numbers. There's 12 cavalry on the field compared to 2. That is the value of having that bigger economy and the cheaper cavalry, even switching into the melee units. And we have Xuan Thu on the side, switching into composite bowmen, which are going to be the supreme archer in late Bronze Age.
The hoplite is going to be such a big problem from CSDN as well, especially when he's already staged set the stage here, set the playing field for the dive in. The GG comes out. Chim Dinang, he does it. That's 2 grand finals, 2 back-to-back Red Bull Wololo champions.
Incredible work from Chim there. Going to be securing his 2nd title in Red Bull Wololo history. Oh, look at him go. Giving a fist bump to his teammate. Well played, series. That final game, fireworks.
Absolutely incredible. At moments, you could see Xuan looked like he was going to come back in, but I mean, these two, they played phenomenally. Yes, Chim, he lives up to the expectation here. He doesn't crack under the pressure, but can we just give a big round of applause to both of these guys, because Xuan especially, coming on this stage for the first time, taking that first game, never giving up, never surrendering, looking like maybe he could get to those 5 games, but no stopping the king. Chim Dinang, he does it again.
Wow, what an incredible series here. It kind of looked like a lot of the games were going to be super close, but really just early aggression. But then in this final game, we really got into that Bronze Age. We got to see what AoE 1 is all about, and you can just see the fireworks on display. And Chim, what a masterclass. That hole in the wall in the south side of Xuan Thu's base has to be so devastating, because he was honestly in a good position. He was breaking into Chimse's base on the other side. He had pressure on the map. He had earlier techs into these very, very important upgrades.
Oh, I think the beauty of it as well is, and this felt consistent throughout the series in a way, is maybe not game 1. Game 1 was like, oh, I need to defend, but outside that, it felt like both players were trying to find their own route to success, right? We talk about this idea, and I treat it as almost like a catchphrase from this point. Proactivity over reactivity. We saw that there. We saw how they were trying to go full gung-ho. We saw how aggressive Age of Empires 1 can be. We saw how entertaining it can be. We were worried just about Clubmen is not going to go beyond Age 1 potentially. They delivered an incredible performance, and it's time to hear from the 2nd Red Bull Wololo champion here in El Reinado. Your Age of Empires 1 champion is on the stage right now with Zoe for an interview.
He is indeed. We're here to celebrate our champion, so please everyone, make some noise for Chim, who remains on top. The trophy is all yours. Map 1, but a scratch in his formidable armor. And he gets to bring that Red Bull Wololo El Reinado trophy back home. Ladies and gentlemen, your Age of Empire 1 champion.